All right, it is sound check time. Yay, it is 8 o'clock. Checking to make sure everything is good to go. Let's see here. It's good to Okay, it looks like we are. Okay, thank you to my moderator for keeping me together. This is In the Cards with the Viberarian. My name is Joelle. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Hello to the Good Vibe Tribe, folks who are coming in. I see Jackie, Washington. We got Gooba moderating. And if you're wanting to say hey, please do. This is my weekly conversation where I get to talk cards and all things oracle, divination for all of my card aficionados. Hey, Munch. All right, we've got the old school crew is holding down the space today. This is going to be live. I'm going to read from the cards. It's going to have a topic. So if you're hoping to pull cards for everybody who's in here based on this deck, and tonight's conversation is super intriguing. Now, my guest last night on the Psychic Inside show was Pat Lynn, and he is a QHHT practitioner. QHHT is quantum healing hypnosis technique, and it was created by Dolores Cannon, and it is a way of accessing past incarnational information and also then connecting with the higher self or superconscious self to get messages about where you are in your journey and things that you need for you to know. So past lives being the topic, I thought what better time than to pull out one of my divination decks that is focused on past lives. I know that at least 3 people in the chat room have had past life readings or Akashic Records readings and past life readings. There's a little kind of different, but also kind of the same, but different. So I know Akashic readings, past life regressions, QHHT sessions, anything else, shamanic journeys where you might have discovered information about yourself in terms of past incarnational experiences. I've had so many different lives come through. It's like a constant thing. It's very exciting. I love it when it happens. And here's the thing, like if you have always kind of resonated with movies, like a good friend of mine, I'm sure she's probably not here to the chat yet. She always resonated with the movie The Mummy and the whole little scene that was there and things like in Egypt. And she's just like, I know that I had a past lifetime with my twin flame where we were in Egyptian. I just feel it. I've always resonated with that and I never knew why. If you have something like that where you just really feel a resonance, then that probably is leading you to an aspect that feels very familiar to the soul. I know I definitely I went through a period of time where I was very intrigued with Nazi Germany and the oppression and the Holocaust, you know, the Diary of Anne Frank and all that kind of situation with the slow spread of the repression movement that happened. And so that really resonates with me in an emotional way. I can feel the story. And so I think that I have a past life resonance where I can identify with being harmed in the way that was experienced in World War II. So anyway, nevertheless, I've been eyeing this deck about oracle cards called the Reincarnation Cards, Awakening for Memory. And this is an imaginative and novel technique. Discover yourself, remember what you were and who you are, remember past and future incarnations, and wake up from the dream of life. Okay, so this was written by 2 people. And it is so interesting because these cards then tell a story. So there's a whole system to the deck. And I'd had it in my wish list on Amazon, like my to get card for like years. And finally I was like, just do it, right? So it comes in a nice little box. Now the book for it is interesting because it's a hardcover book. And most of the time you have soft cover materials. So it's interesting because as they go through the topic of common life story experiences, they've divided up into different categories, and they provide a great deal of information, like at least 2 solid pages for each of the cards. And yet you also then use these triggers as a catalyst to go down the rabbit hole with certain eras. Then when you find that it resonates, then you can kind of do a deep dive and say, oh my goodness, what was it about Mongolia and China and being a warlord for Genghis Khan, right? You can kind of go down rabbit holes and spirit will lead you then to uncover more aspects from that point going forward. So I'm trying to remember what the different colors in the deck. Okay, there's occupation, culture, environment, theme, and the termination, like the death story. So each of the cards will have a different background. Like this one will be termination. The plus is the theme of the life. The circle is the culture. The gold is the occupation. What else do we have here? I know there's a green. Oh, this is a diamond. Environment, where you lived. And I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's all of them. So, and then there's a card in the deck that is called the secret card, and that means that it's not time for that information to be revealed to you yet, and the spirit is letting you know we're not going to even talk about that. So it's kind of helpful because it kind of lets you know maybe something it might actually cause you to release a wound that you might be really traumatic for you. So maybe you can lead into it a little differently, knowing that there's kind of been a wait, we're not going to go there. So the first time I used this deck, it was very interesting. I think I made a recording on my channel. I got a Mayan looking person, and it was, I think, the Jaguar priest. So very interestingly, when I spent time in the Yucatan and Playa del Carmen since 2016, one of the places that I went that is off the beaten path is Ikbalam, the Jaguar Temple. And I have pictures from there from climbing up. You can see the teeth of the jaguar and like the priests that were studying the mysteries there. My friend Ricardo kind of shared with me about the history of the ruins. So when that card came up, it was so interesting because I've wondered why I felt such a resonance with that area and why I was called to visit and travel there, and then partially live there off and on every chance I could get. And I believe that it's because of that past life that I feel a real resonance. And so being at Chichen Itza, Tulum, and just connecting so much with the energy there and the cenotes, I think that that's one of my, past life indicators. So anyway, I am going to draw just a card. Like there's a whole system that you can do readings with, that you can lay a whole spread for somebody. And so, if you are interested in having that kind of reading with me, definitely send an email. My contact information is going to be in the description box below here. Of course, I'm going to pull a card for everybody as well who wants one this evening. But let's see what else. Oh, and the cards are very solid. They're thick. They're not as thick as some, but they're thick enough that they can be shuffled and they're not going to necessarily bend over on themselves. They're not flim-flammy at all. And there is a website from the folks, and they have some materials there to support the knowledge that they put into the teachings around this system. And very happy to be able to support. They're kind of like an independent creator and publisher to create this system. And I think it's pretty cool. John Knowles and Linda Labiana. Or Labian. Oh, Linda LeBlanc. Hello, Linda LeBlanc and John M. Knowles, M.A. from 2007, published in Cyprus, Greece. So you can see it even has the hieroglyphs. All right, so let us see what the first card that wants to come out to talk to us about today's energies and relating to past lives. Oh, these cards are very energized. All right, let's see here. One more good shuffle. I'm gonna actually take the top and the bottom of the deck though, once we cut. All right, so the two categories of card that have come up are white. I'm trying not to look at them yet. White and green. So let's see what the diamond and the square mean again. Because, okay, occupation and environment. So we are going to find out about these two things. Let me see if there's anything else in the guidebook before we get to it. Okay. Yeah, so the occupations, it says they're barely adequate to cover the vast range of occupations in which one may engage. Each of them is intended to embrace an entire field of activity in which any number of specified occupations are included. By drawing one of these cards, it would appear that an egoic consciousness that you projected has probably been in some way associated with the indicated occupants or occupation or profession. Either you apparently practice the profession or occupation yourself, or you were in some way greatly influenced by it or by someone who did engage in it. Indeed, at some point in your vast incarnational history, you have certainly been closely acquainted on more than one occasion with all of these activities at one time or another. Since employment normally takes up a considerable amount of one's daily activities, resonances may be felt to particular professions that left a psychic mark on you. The wide range of choices of ways to provide oneself with livelihood may reveal many of life's challenges, ranging from the more lofty spiritual or intellectual to those of a purely materialistic nature. These occupation cards are designed to stimulate those buried memories of careers that provided important life lessons in an apparent embodiment, resonances that may very well be reflected in your present incarnation. Okay, here we go. Let's see what it says. Ooh, government. Very, very interesting. This is card number 1. So, I'm laughing because I've been a government employee personally for a better part of my career. Not only have I worked for government, I have like significant problems with government in terms of, I feel like we need some major changes to our system of governance because it's not very effective or democratic. So I've been kind of anti-establishment in some ways, and actually a past life came through where I had lost my life in the process of rebelling against the English during or the French or something in some kind of revolutionary era. writing seditious materials and was executed for passing around information, right? So that's very interesting, but I also see this as like royalty and that whole idea of like the crown being, the monarchs being appointed to be the government by God because they're the royals, and you have this royal crest here with the purple crown and all that. So it's definitely an interesting occupation to have come up. If anybody has any comments about the cards as I'm pulling them, please definitely share if this card speaks to you or says anything at all. And let's see here. All right. This is cool, right? It says that your selection of this card suggests that through a projected personality, you have experienced an incarnation or incarnations in the course of which you played a role that involved a formal mastery over the daily lives of numbers of others, a group or groups of whom were in some sense legally subordinate to you. Whether inherited or earned, such a governing position carries with it a heavy responsibility. The temptations for abuse are correspondingly great. The manner in which you responded to the challenges that arose during that period would have been critical. Ideally, you will have learned that a proper balance must be struck between force and magnanimity so as to achieve a necessary respect for authority while avoiding heavy-handedness. The tyrant may be feared, but is rarely loved. Your actions during that apparent lifetime would have had a profound effect on the lives of many others for whose welfare you were responsible. Greed is rewarded in outer appearance only. There is no lasting material gain. Failure to adhere to the highest ethical standards in such a situation would have had far-reaching karmic consequences that may very well have affected your current life situation. One sign of having vicariously known an embodiment of this kind could be an innate desire to be of service to others. In some cases, this tendency could even be expressed in feelings of servility or fawning sycophancy towards those in authority. Conversely, one could have the urge to reject or actively to rebel against those in power who are deemed to abuse their position to destroy your inalienable right to freedom as a human being. Oh, so definitely this is speaking to me because as a state law librarian, it was my duty, happily so, to make sure that people had access to the law, because I didn't think that it was fair for people to be incarcerated or to be under things that they didn't have access to even read. So I did a lot of services to constituencies that were not paying for services and that the government needed to support the access to that information. And I actually ended up being in like a political spatty tiff about it, and my agency lost. So that kind of thing of fighting to make sure that people have fair access to government and to legal information, as any of my friends here in the chat room know, boom, my soapbox is out like instantly in terms of that. And I wound up working for one of a very powerful government lobbying, government affairs law firm, of which I ultimately left and went to Mexico to try to heal myself from. So this is hitting right on it for me. And I know at least one other person worked for government in the chat room as well. Remember those days? Okay. All right. Now, the second card, we said the green is environment. And so environment cards are, this one says, every incarnation is framed by an environment as seen against the background of which that particular life's myriad events appear to unfold. There are 9 of these cards, some of which may resonate deeply with you. A particular environment may play an integral role in life's apparent experiences as shaped by the diverse landscapes of the planet, each with its own beauties and hardships. Such experiences, molded by the often sharp and relentless forces of nature, may provide insights into the seeming vulnerability and physical mortality of a human being. Equally, an individual may gain access to mystical and spiritual states of intense emotional bliss and intellectual understanding through a deeply felt connection to the magnificent, powerful energies of the planet Earth. Through such experiences, one may acquire an awareness of one's true nature and its relationship of identity to universal consciousness. It is most useful to think about the selected environment card in the context of cards of other categories that have been drawn at the same time. It might be thought that cards of different categories, which to outer appearances have been randomly selected, would have no relationship to each other. It has been found, however, that they do often appear synchronistically to have been subconsciously chosen to appear together. You are expected to seek within yourself for the connections that your superconscious higher self is trying in this way to display to you. So this is so interesting too, because last night Pat was talking about how when he grew up on a farm and like a ranch in rural America, but he never felt comfortable there. And the first time he went to New York City, he felt like he was coming home and that the energy just felt more natural to him. And I asked if he thought that it was related to past life, and he said, absolutely. And I know I felt that myself too. Like I always felt like a city mouse and not a country mouse, like the little kids' book said. I felt out of place, but I did feel comfortable in, city environments. Environmentally, I definitely resonate towards like ocean environments versus forest environments. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes up, because also then it says to look at it towards the government. So let us see what we're talking about. Where are we talking about? Well, well, what does one say? And it's interesting because this is a 1 and this is a 38. So this is 111. So like for me, actually working in the city, in a high rise, working as the top of my profession in terms of what service I could provide to people as a public law librarian. All of those things I've manifested for myself, apparently, to resolve energies that I feel like this is what I envisioned, I guess, for myself. I knew that I wanted to live in a city. That was my goal of coming to Atlanta to college, just so I could be in a city. I didn't think I would work for government and then not for government and then assisting government and then, adjacent government adjacent. And now it's like the one kind of legal research I really don't want to be constantly doing is government related legal research, So anyway, very, very interesting, because city was something that Spirit had me to mention with Pat too. So let us see what this number 38 says. Hilarious. Okay. Throughout human history, people have gathered in cities. This history extends back far beyond Rome, Alexandria, Athens, Eridu, or Atlantis. Tiwanaku's history may have extended back as far as 15,000 years. Remote and romantic as those urban complexes may appear when viewed from today, they suffered from the same drawbacks as does any really large conglomeration of people in one location, including modern cities. Crowded, unhygienic conditions set the stage for epidemics such as the plague that wiped out a huge percentage of Europeans in the late Middle Ages. Countless millions of innocent city dwellers have been massacred over the centuries, from Genghis Khan's rape of Beijing and Tamerlane's Mountain of Skulls in Baghdad to the World War II Blitz of London. the carpet bombings of German cities, and the nuclear incineration of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In all such clustered masses of humanity, there are also vast disparities of prosperity among the people. Inequalities of this kind can generate resonances of the harshness of the conditions, the dark satanic mills, that's in quotes, dark satanic mills in which an incarnation may have been passed. The reverse may also be experienced. A city inhabited of comfortable material means may feel stimulated and energized by the diverse opportunities presented by a thick concentration of many types of people and all that this entails. Indeed, a city environment is a stage for all of the contrasting variables of incarnate experience. As such, this card may evoke numerous resonances for you to contemplate. It's so interesting because I love cities, but the reoccurring thing that triggers the fear in me is being trapped in a city and needing to get out and to find a way past government restrictions and boundaries, and to be like how the Polish people in the ghettos of Warsaw slowly saw their freedom shrink until they basically were then hauled off into the concentration camps once they were cordoned in, right? That kind of triggered a fear in me. And even in college, on my college campus at one point after the Rodney King riots, they shut down the campus and you could not get on or off the area. Your movement was restricted and you had to find a way to get out. So it's very stressful to me. So I can see where just in seeing these cards, it's triggering a lot of connections and memories. So, all right. Who wants a card? Who's first? Who wants to go first? First commenter, I'll give it time to calm down because there's a lot of information flowing for me about this. And we'll give it some shuffles and see who pops in first. Oh, 9/11 was the worst. Yes. Oh my goodness. That was quite a day to be working for government or anywhere, really. All right, let's see who's going to have the first card. I can't tell how far the leg is. Let me see. Well, I'm not going to read without anyone's permission. So if you do want a card, please speak up. If you're in just the regular comments, I won't be able to see it. You'll need to be in the chat. Okay, Washington, let's get you here. This is kind of like energies for Jacqueline. All right, the card for the green diamond came up again, and that is environment. And so, oh, wow. Boris, look at the deer, 33. Oh, look at the little deer, that's beautiful. I don't know if this is resonating for you, if you have any comments in the chat. I definitely know that deer is something that is prevalent around an area where you used to live and frequent. So there's that. But that is a beautiful, is nature your happy space for us? and greenery, rivers and things like that? Do you like the quietness? I know that you have a rising earth sign, a Taurus, which is the earthy energy sign. So feeling grounded as well. Let us see what it says here. Okay, and I think Munch said, "Book, book, book," and she said, "Oh, she'll take one." Okay, so anyway, after this, we'll do Munch. So 33, Forest. Many of your apparent projections into incarnation have been passed in a forest environment. In the earliest periods of physical evolution as a true forest creature, you actually experienced life in the trees, subsisting primarily on fruits, nuts, seeds, and insects. In the course of time, you also experienced so-called lives as a hunter or a gatherer, charged with the responsibility of finding food for yourself and your family. During such embodiments, your emanated personality may have been far closer to nature than you find yourself to be in your present incarnation. Forests are often associated in folklore as home to the magical kingdoms of elves, fairies, and nature spirits. You may have acquired a sense of wonder, respect, and deep connectedness to wooded glens from encounters with such energies in other apparent incarnations. If you look upon a forested environment with nostalgia, yearning still for the peace that may be found when alone in a grove or glade, you may find it to be helpful to focus your attention on feelings of this kind. In this way, you may evoke the many resonances that can arise from concentration on this woodland environment. It is recommended that again and again, you allow your consciousness to blend into the silence to be found in the forest. All right. Master number 33. Okay, then. All right, Jacqueline, you have to let me know what that triggers for you at the next point. Okay, so next we're going to do Munch. Let's see what we have for you, sis. Munch says, yes, yes, the mothers, the tree mothers. Right, energy, past life for Munch. Here we go, one more shuffle. All right, you have the circle. Okay, wait, let me pause. So Jacqueline says, I have not been much of a nature lover, but I find myself connecting with nature for peace and grounding. Okay, well, maybe it's going to become more present in your life after today's activation of awareness. Who knows? I do know you like the Oracle deck that you got was very woodsy and naturey with all the butterflies and birds and plants and all that. So, all right, your happy place. Okay, so Munch, you had the circle here on the top, and again, circle is for culture. Oh, cool. Guess what? See if we can focus. This is like Chichen Itza. The step pyramid is common to the Mayan people down into the Yucatan, down Palenque, all the way down to Belize, all of those step pyramids. Central America, that is so interesting. I love that it's got the yellow and the orange. And why could I see you with that hat and everything on, sis? Okay, very interesting. 28 is a 10. So let us see where this leads us. Okay. The Maya and the Aztecs are components of a complex of Central American cultures that, in the main, originated as colonies of Atlantis. Pause. I know everybody saw Wakanda too. Okay. Right. So yes, Kukulkan, the great feathered serpent god. Everybody saw Wakanda 2. Wakanda 2 had the truth in it. It was so crazy because when I was sitting there in that movie, I was like, what? What? And all my friends who've been down to Mexico with me were like, what? It was crazy to see it in the movie, right? So let me just pause here because Pat was thinking if he could join us for the chat tonight. Let me see if he's going to come on. Okay, he's not going to be able to make it, but we'll catch him for the next one. So anyway, yes, the whole Namor character in Wakanda 2 and the underwater, the Mayans, the feather serpent god, the abuelas, the grandmothers, all that. Okay, back to the book. Another very early tribal grouping, the mysterious Olmecs, was derived from streams of immigrants from, among others, Africa, India, and China, and included even people of the Semitic origin, as is quite clear from Mesoamerican statuary and monuments. Of unknown origin are the Alcambaro figures of Mexico, dating back thousands of years and depicting recognizable prehistoric reptiles, supposedly destroyed by a Neo strike in Yucatan some 65 million years ago. Neo is capitalized Neo, so that must have been like some kind of asteroid or something like that. These cultures also describe the early civilizing influence of a tall, white, bearded teacher whom they variously called Quetzalcoatl, Gucumatz, and Kukulkan. Quetzalcoatl is said to have arrived at the end of a long period of darkness that followed a catastrophic deluge. This cataclysm destroyed the advanced civilization of what was called the fourth sun or fourth age of the world. He is said to have arrived by the sea and departed by the sea. He first appeared publicly in Mexico at Teotihuacan, the place where men became gods. Like Viracocha, Contiki in South America, Quetzalcoatl, Guacumatz, Kukulkan brought the benefits of civilization to a people that had been reduced to barbarism by the catastrophic event that involved the destruction of their ancestral homeland in the Eastern Ocean that they called Atlan or Atzlan, from which only a few had managed to escape by sea, as depicted in the Mayan codices. It is likely that Viracocha, who also appeared from the sea among the pre-Incas of South America, and Quetzalcoatl refer to the same man or group of men. Over the centuries, there have been much transoceanic contact between this area and the cultures of India, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, and China, and is clearly shown by statuary and various monuments. Hundreds of thousands of beings were sacrificed to the gods in Mesoamerican cultures that were fearful of a recurrence of the great deluge that has destroyed their ancestors, leaving only a few survivors. They hoped thereby to forestall another such cataclysm. Your vicarious Central American experience may have been peaceful or very traumatic indeed. It is the traumatic experiences that are most likely to have left their traces in the psyche. Wow. That's deep. The 21st is the equinox, and that is when the phenomenon of the shadow of the great serpent god Kukulkan can become seen coming down and rising up. And I forget which one is the going down and the coming up, but it's September equinox, fall equinox, or vernal, and spring vernal and autumnal equinox at Chichen Itza. So that was just coming to mind as well. And it's so interesting because you were supposed to come to Mexico when I was in Mexico. And so you will definitely be in Mexico the next time we go to Mexico because it's pulling you to. No surprise that we're all connected. All right. And Munch says, my guide recognized that in Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. I love it. Isn't this fun? All right. So I think that if there's anyone else in the chat, Gooba, do you want a card? Are you in or are you out? If there's anybody else, let me know. Okay, Mush said spot on. Anybody else is interested? Let me know. Okay, she said, yeah. All right, let's see what we got for Gooba. Give it 2 more shuffles here. All right, you got the cross, the red cross, and the cross is for a theme. I think that's it, page 128. Okay, so a theme is, these 11 cards are intended to summarize any one apparent incarnation, to highlight both the main trends of and the lessons to be learned from the events vicariously experienced in the course of a particular apparent embodiment. These cards reflect the individual character displayed by your projected personality, which is different and distinct for each incarnation during that lifetime. There are many lessons to be learned here. Certain patterns appear in diverse apparent incarnations, which provide opportunities to revisit a particular theme or life lesson in its many guises. Perhaps the most important of these is that you come to understand the passing ephemeral nature of the projected personality as distinguished from your higher individuality, forever at the center of the wheel of the higher self, or Atman, Atman. Okay, so the conversation last night, and I know that you recall this, was talking about, Pat shared about a near-death experience and how his life and all that he had experienced passed before him, and then how like he realized how fleeting it was, and the continuity of his soul beyond that, like coming back into a different perspective now. So that kind of realizing that this personality that we're in may live and may make mistakes and may do good things, may do bad things, whatever, but just to be in it, that's why we're supposed to be in it. But recognize that it's not the be all end all. We're not the sum total of who we think we are through this particular incarnation. So that was a theme last night as well. So let's see. Oh, this is funny. The card is boom, power. Another 10. So that's like we got 28 for the last one. We got 46. This is 10 ones and 0. Okay, look at that. Power. It's like a lightning bolt. I mean, anybody who knows, Google knows that this is a very, very appropriate emblem. So it says the symbol of the thunderbolt or lightning strike indicates an emanated apparent lifetime characterized by the possession and exercise of power over oneself and or over others. This power may have been physical, mental, psychic, or spiritual. You must know, however, that with power comes responsibility. The incarnate personality's greatest problem was and remains the need to exercise firm control over itself and not to abuse the weak and the defenseless. Much adverse karma can result from these unequal situations, but all is forgiven in the end. There is no purgatory or hell, just another chance to do better this time. Oh my goodness, what do you always talk about? Shame the dragon. Or tame the dragon. Not shame the dragon. You always talk about tame your dragon. Get it together. Pull your cord. That kind. I mean, definitely power seems to be And I'm also seeing like, what was it, Shazam, like a superhero on there. But it's also like the lightning bolt of energy that comes down when you're channeling as well. I see here the purple of the higher consciousness and the yellow solar plexus empowerment bringing it down. All right, yes. So this was a perfect card, yes. Shango and Oya and Kawak. Kawak is Mayan, and it is the lightning bolt of transformation. Oh, I feel like I need to get that card. Hold on one moment, please. Let me, because it is from the Mayan Oracle of Light, the Light Language Oracle. And the card is Kawak, which is the lightning bolt of transformation. It's on page 114. Let me see here. Storm, rain, fire. Well, that's definitely Oya Shango. The qualities are final surrender, purification, transformation, reunion, activation of the light body, thunder being, the lightning path, initiation by fire, ecstasy of freedom. The color is royal purple, the flowers, the purple iris, mistletoe, frankincense, and myrrh. If you have shadow issues, denial, fear of the unknown, issues of addiction, strong feelings of despair or separation from source, judging your physical transformational process, feelings of futility and despair, you can step free from denying and judging your experience, access your essence self to carry you through the intense feelings that accompany profound growth. Turn your transformation over to spirit, surrendering all that perpetuates the illusion of separation. And the wisdom is to be free. Enter the wave of ecstasy beyond the finite dance of the swirling veils. Fragments of the greater self gather, moving homeward. Rise up unveiled, horizons await. I am purifying and transforming myself, igniting my light body, healing all separation. I call out to you, my light body self, to embrace the lightning strike of the thunder beings. Through my pilgrimage into the unknown, through the purple flames of transmutation, I return to a home I never left. And what's so interesting is that this has a different card, but it's purple in that deck, okay? So, and it says, if you are looking at Kawak, you are entering into a time of profound quickening and transformation. This is the final surrender of the ego into essence and the arms of the divine self. Have you come to the edge of what you have known yourself to be? Kawak beckons you to step into a fire that changes every level of your being, even the underlying structures of your life. Step into the unknown. Your metamorphosis has begun. Kawak helps you move from apparent separation into reunion. You are at a crossroads. You are in the midst of a personal revolution, clearing old patterns, past experiences, judgments, memories, and expectations, okay? Clearing old patterns, past experiences, judgments, memories, and expectations. You are being purified and quickened into your light body, activated for rebirth and entering unity consciousness. Kawak prepares you to go through an apparently insurmountable wall, and the intense feelings around this wall provide the very fuel that will propel you through it. These feelings are the access to your hidden power and potential. Be purified by the cleansing rain and transmuting lightning of Kawak. Feel the embrace of the thunder beings. Discover the freedom of the true adventurer, the freed actor who can play any part at any moment without attachment. Trust your essence self to offer you this freedom. Through Kawak, allow yourself to become a master player in the great glass bead game. OMG. K, hello, hello. Lightning bolt of transformation. The butterfly, the caterpillar ends, the butterfly emerges. The caterpillar lets go of all of its form and becomes goo so that it can be remade. We reconstitute when we recycle and come back into lessons. I think that there is like a fear teaching that talks about reincarnation as some sort of trap for the soul. But if from the way that I look at it is that to experience the sweetness of what I got to be as a human in this lifetime, all the people that I know, all the good vibe tribe, all of the experiences and memories, I think that if my soul has chosen to come down here, that it's not because it was trapped. It was because this is sweet. And it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to get to experience other souls in human form in this expression. So that lightning bolt, when you are no longer what you were, when the pelvis shatters, when the tower crashes and crumbles, and what emerges. So it's also, to me, this is a card of the divine feminine and masculine and balance, because the wisdom of the feminine and the purple, the magnetic of the feminine that draws together, and then the lightning bolt electric of the masculine that brings it into form and down into the manifestation together and balance with the two energies, creating the third with that energetic wrapper as the two come together. Okay, whoo. Let me see if there's anything else in Kawak that says, oh, well, I'm sorry. We go ahead and just read this, y'all with me? Okay, this is reading The Magical Child. This is Kawak, all right? I am Kawak, invitation of fire on the water, purple flaming pyre and winnowing rain of final surrender. If you seek my rapture, my unspeakable passion for your wholeness will purify you, searing the very foundations on which you have built your most cherished illusions. Have you come to the edge of who you know yourself to be? Step into the abyss of the unknown. The intensity of your feelings will propel you through the apparent wall of your tomb of separation from source. There, laving in the lambent waters, prepare for sacred reunion with the self that cannot be destroyed even when lightning strikes. Summoned I am by your essence to clear and purify all that is not needed in the creation of the sacred ground of your light body. I come to release that part of your light and power that has not been fully freed into love. Do you stand willing to surrender everything to become all that you appear not yet to be? Will you step consciously into the initiatory flames of transmutation to be consumed by the fire of love? When you enter my fires, you are changed forever. There is no return. I am the purple thunder being who brings total transformation. I am here to purify what has not been purified. I am the single moment impacted with a piercing blow, lightning quick, here bearing the energy necessary to snap you from the trance, shattering the structuring of your reality. When you stand so close to truth as to dance in the intensity of my fires, my energies will quicken your being in preparation for going home. I offer you freedom from vibrational density. Cling not to this or that, for nothing will remain after the storm and the fire, save the beauty, ecstasy, and perfect naked truth of who you are as a light being. I am Kawak. Ask nothing less of me. I am born of unity to claim its own. How palpable is your trust in the pattern of perfection? How powerful is your commitment to rebirth? How real is your faith to pilgrimage into the realm of the unknown? To what would you cling in my fiery vortex? Surrender, receive grace. After the heat of surrender, I will usher you into the cooling waters and the ecstasy of your true identity. Would you resist or cling? Come to me. Out of the ashes of transmutation, the phoenix of your divine self will rise, and you, refined to whiteness, will rise like the sweet curling smoke of my fires into resplendent freedom. Okay, for everybody who lives in the city of Atlanta, whose symbol is Phoenix and whose motto is resurgence and talks about rising from the ashes, and about those Atlanteans who have come here for this great awakening to anchor the light and the grid and to restore the energy of this place, seated in the civil rights and the liberation of people to become a beacon for the new earth that is coming. That's why we're all here holding this light hub. Woo, okay. And Fox, the Phoenix, rising from the ashes from Harry Potter, and it is about the purity of the soul that brings the willingness to trust spirit, to allow oneself to be burned in those ashes and to be remade into a higher, better, and purer frequency of oneself. Okay. Okay. That was a lot. I could feel the energy move through. So I guess that lightning bolt. And yes, Tanya mentioned Saint Germain. When we were on Mount Shasta, our guide, Paula Venus, was hit by a lightning bolt and blew up his organs on the inside. And he wound up making a miraculous recovery with the assistance of Saint Germain, holder of the violet flame. And we connected with that energy there as well. Again, in the twinkling of an eye, everything can change. Woo, beautiful readings. Okay, so past lives, that is a great message. Like I said, this was from the Mayan Oracle, Language of Light Oracle. So that just really moved very nicely with the reading. And for our lightning power, our city government, our forests and nature, and what was the other one? It was the 28. But anyway, we've all got them. So, oh, wow. Y'all not going to believe this. Mountain is on the bottom of the deck. So as I said, going to Mount Shasta, connecting with Saint Germain, and members of our party saw Pleiadian light shifts. It looks very much like the clouds. And like I said, our guide, Paul of Venus, who led us up to the mountain and through the portals and all of that, and our higher heart activation. I guess it's no surprise that this would come out to the chat rooms like, what? I know, and it's a 7, which is 34 is a 7, which is my calling card as for the divine feminine. Let me go ahead and read my number 34 real quickly. We're just going to go with the flow because it keeps reading. And this is why I don't just look at cards randomly, because I get, as soon as I see something, if I'm activated, then it's coming in as download. But Mount Shasta, Paul of Venus. And interestingly, I got a note from him that there's an episode on Gaia TV about Mount Shasta, and there's an interview of him contained in it. So I'll definitely got to look for that and check it out as well. So, okay, forest and mountain were side by side. And it's funny because we went to the Avenue of the Giants and connected with the old redwoods, the giant trees, the grandmother, grandfather trees on the north coast of California. And of course, Mount Shasta is the mother chakra of planet Earth. And when you see her, she is like a beautiful, expectant mother reclining on the land. So very interesting, much as women of the mountains. Okay. Arunachala, Arunachala, In the south to the majestic Himalayas in the north of India and in Tibet, as well as elsewhere in the world, people in search of peace and wisdom have been drawn to the high places. Accordingly, you may easily resonate with this card in many ways. You will note, however, that the magic mountain scenery is viewed by a lone figure seated in a cave. This is the cave of contemplation. The person who is gazing peacefully at the distant mountains is indicative of a self-imposed life of physical denial, during which normal creature comforts and the society of family and friends were deliberately forsaken, if only temporarily, in the pursuit of the intended spiritual path, a search within for the one over the egoic self. When you draw and study this card, try to still all thoughts and to remain in a state of unbroken conscious awareness, knowing that you forever carry the cave of contemplation in your heart. Okay, and this is like the Hermit card in tarot, like you come inside to seek your own counsel, right? To connect with the divine before emerging outward. But also what's interesting is because in Shasta, there's like portals to the underground city of Telos and like mystical realms. And so it's one of those wild and free places, much like the deep forest, where you have elemental energies as well as higher vibrational beings. And so, you know, those are interesting places where the veil is very thin. That's another place where I did feel a resonance. Like when I got to Shasta, I felt like I could live there, maybe do a season or something and do readings, pop-up shop. That's still kind of in my energy because I did feel very connected, even though I'm not like normally a mountain person. It's not my happy place. But I'm sure this is going to trigger some more to come through. But interesting. I had to read it because, I mean, it all flows. Okay, everyone. So past life readings. Thank you for the Good Vibe Tribe coming on. Next week, my guest is Micah Sage on the Psychic Inside show. I met Micah at Radiance Metaphysical Shop in Olympia, Washington, and invited to be on the show. And then on Wednesday, we are going to talk tarot. Micah has a podcast where they talk about books and literature as it relates to the tarot archetypes and the card meanings. So that's super geeky, uber library, literary stuff. And I'm very excited to have that conversation and have Micah as my guest next week. So I hope you'll tune in. We'll be reading and throwing cards as well as usual. And to all the Good Vibe Tribe, thank you so much for always showing up. And I love that these messages are like ping-ponging off of us, like, because we know we've been doing this work for quite some time, right? So, all right, everyone, have a beautiful evening. Please don't forget to check out the Awakening Far Memory cards. If you want a reading with me, also let me know a little more in depth. Let me know. I'll see you next week.